Hey everyone, ready to dive into the world of digital artist interviews? We're going to unlock some serious secrets today, all thanks to RoleCatcher's awesome resources.
Yeah, it's a field that's really booming right now, this cool mix of creativity and technology.
Right. And RoleCatcher's career guide really nails it. Digital artist, they say, is all about using digital tech as the core of your art. It's way more than just like computer art.
It is. The scope is massive. Think like bringing stories to life with animation, digital paintings that could be in a museum, 3D models. They're like, whoa, other worlds, even designs for websites and video games that millions of people use.
Wow, that's huge. Sounds like a field where you can really let loose with your imagination. But hold on, before you go designing your victory dance, we got to get you prepped for those interview questions. RoleCatcher's interview guide has 10, the ones hiring managers always seem to ask.
And we're breaking them down one by one. Insider tips coming right up.
Awesome. Okay, question one, the classic. What inspired you to become a digital artist? Seems simple, but what are they actually trying to figure out?
They want to see that spark, that genuine passion. What was that moment for you? Was it a piece of art that just blew your mind, a mentor who showed you the way, or maybe a video game that changed everything and showed you the power of digital art? Sharing a specific story, something from your own journey, that's the key.
RoleCatcher sample response, it's a great example. They talk about being captivated by how digital art brings those imaginative worlds to life. I bet everyone listening has their own version of that story. What makes your journey unique?
Maybe it was an artist who used technology in a way you'd never seen before, or maybe a project where you pushed yourself further than you thought possible. Whatever it was, let your excitement show. Let it shine through.
Okay, on to question two. Here we go. How do you stay up to date with the latest digital art trends and techniques? This is where you got to prove you're not just talented, but also a lifelong learner. Am I right?
Absolutely. This question, it's all about showing your commitment to constantly learning and growing. Digital art moves so fast, you got to keep pace.
RoleCatcher's advice. Show them you're proactive. Mention online courses, workshops, the fact that you're all over those digital art blogs and forums, anything that shows you're actively seeking out knowledge and improving your skills.
And you know what? RoleCatcher itself. Fantastic resource for this. Packed with tutorials, insights into what's happening in the industry, even AI tools that help you understand job descriptions and pinpoint the skills you need.
Speaking of RoleCatcher and AI, let's dive into how that can really help you prep for these interviews.
One thing that makes RoleCatcher stand out is how it helps you tailor your answers to specific job roles. The AI looks at those job descriptions, figures out the skills they want, then helps you craft answers that really hit the mark.
It's like having a secret weapon in your pocket, giving you all the best answers. Actually, I used RoleCatcher to prep for a presentation recently, and wow, the way it helped me refine my message and deliver it with confidence, it was amazing.
It's a game changer for anyone who wants to make a great impression. But okay, back to those interview questions. We got a lot to cover.
You're right, let's get back to it. Question three, can you walk us through your creative process from concept to finished product? I feel like this is your chance to let your artistic personality really shine through.
Exactly. This is where you pull back the curtain and let them see how your mind works, creatively speaking. The interviewer wants to see your process, your organizational skills, and how you bring those amazing ideas to life.
And RoleCatcher stresses the importance of being clear and confident. Don't just list the software you use, tell a story. Their sample response, for example, they talk about starting with rough sketches, then using digital tools for refining, adding details, and, the whole importance of getting feedback along the way, showing you're open to collaboration and always improving.
So think about what makes your process unique. Do you use mood boards to capture a certain feeling? Do you prioritize client feedback or personal experimentation? Sharing those insights is what makes you stand out.
There's this really interesting detail in RoleCatcher's sample response. They talk about using a technique called photo bashing to create realistic textures. It's those little specific things that help you be memorable.
Totally. Don't be shy about showing off your unique skills and techniques. Could be anything, a specific approach to color palettes, mastery of 3D modeling. Let those passions come through.
All right, here's question four, and this one feels a bit tricky. How do you handle creative differences or conflicts with clients or colleagues? Ooh, how do you even navigate that?
It can be tough, but it's a golden opportunity to showcase your people skills. They want to see that you can handle those tricky situations with grace and diplomacy.
RoleCatcher's advice is spot on. Show that you can communicate clearly and respectfully even when things get heated. Really emphasize your ability to listen, find common ground, and come up with solutions that work for everyone.
It's all about finding that balance between advocating for your creative vision and respecting the needs and perspectives of the other people involved.
Stories are so powerful here. RoleCatcher's sample response, they talk about a time when the client wanted this dark and edgy design, which clashed with the brand's playful image. Instead of getting stuck in a standoff, the artist presented alternatives that were sophisticated yet whimsical. They bridged the gap, you know?
Perfect example of finding a compromise that honors both sides, the client, and your own artistic integrity. Think back. Have you ever faced a similar situation? How did you find a creative solution?
That's a great one to ponder. And hey, before we jump to question 5, let's sprinkle in some career insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide. One thing they emphasize is how important continuous learning is in this field. Software, techniques, trends, it's all constantly changing.
It is. And guess what? RoleCatcher makes staying ahead of the game so much easier. It's like having a personal coach for your career, giving you the resources and insights to really thrive. Before we jump back into those interview questions, let's zoom out for a sec. Big picture time. RoleCatcher's Career Guide has this section, Digital Artist. Career stages, it's super insightful, outlines how your role changes, like what you're responsible for, from entry level all the way up to senior positions.
Oh yeah, it's like a roadmap for your career, showing you the different paths and the skills you need to level up.
Exactly. And remember, interview prep is just one step on that journey. So as we go through these next questions, I want you to think, where do you see yourself in the future of digital art?
Ooh, good question.
Like, what kind of projects do you dream of leading? What skills are you dying to master? Let those aspirations guide your answers. Showcase your vision for what's next.
Love it.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher can be right there with you every step of the way, providing the resources and insights you need to navigate each stage with confidence.
Awesome. All right, back to those questions. Question 11. What software and tools are you proficient in, and which ones are you most comfortable working with? Is your time to shine. Show off those technical skills.
Absolutely. Time to reveal your digital toolkit. The interviewer wants to know, do your skills match their needs? Do you know the software they use?
So RoleCatcher says, list the software you're good at, but also explain why you prefer certain tools. What makes them special for you? What are those unique features or workflows that you just love?
For example, maybe you're all about Adobe Photoshop, how versatile it is for editing photos. Or Blender, maybe it's that intuitive interface for 3D modeling, whatever it is. Share that enthusiasm. Show them why those tools help you create.
RoleCatcher's sample response does a great job showing their range, mentioning 2D, A&D, 3D software. They even talk about playing with plugins and scripts to make their workflow smoother. That shows they care about efficiency and are always looking to improve.
Definitely. It's about showing you're comfortable with the basics, but also exploring new stuff, pushing those boundaries, seeing what those tools can really do.
It's like taking it to the next level, right?
Yeah.
Now, for everyone listening, are there any specific features or techniques that you're really into? Let's geek out a little, show off that expertise.
Yeah, let that passion for the tech side of digital art really shine through.
All right, moving on to question 12. Can you describe your experience working with different file formats and resolutions? Might sound a bit techy, but it's super important for collaboration and making sure your work looks amazing.
It is. It's all about showing that you get the technical details of digital art, how to make it work for different purposes.
RoleCatcher highlights how crucial it is to understand the differences between raster and vector graphics, as well as knowing how to optimize images for various platforms.
Like, think about it. Sometimes you need a super high resolution image for printing. Got to have that big file size to capture all those details. But for the web, you got to compress it so it loads quickly, you know?
It's finding that balance, quality versus file size, depending on what you're using it for.
Exactly. Knowing those little things shows you're not just an artist, you're a tech whiz, too. Someone who delivers high-quality work no matter the format.
And RoleCatcher sample response is great. They emphasize their experience converting files between different formats, making sure it's consistent across different platforms. They even mention using cloud storage, which is so key nowadays for sharing files easily, especially when working remotely.
All excellent points to bring up in an interview. Now, for those listening, do you have any go-to strategies for handling files and making sure everything works smoothly across different software and devices?
Hearing your own workflow, those little tips and tricks, that can really make a good impression.
Absolutely. And speaking of making a good impression, let's revisit something from RoleCatcher's Career Guide, the pros and cons section. One thing they talk about is how competitive this field is. So many talented digital artists out there. How do you stand out?
Well, mastering those technical skills we just talked about, understanding those file formats, resolutions, different software, that gives you an edge for sure. It shows you're creative, A&D, adaptable, efficient, ready to tackle any technical challenge that comes your way.
It's about proving you've got the skills and the knowledge to produce high-quality work that meets professional standards. It's that extra layer of polish, you know.
I like that, the extra polish. Okay, ready for question 13. Here we go. It's about versatility. Tell us about a time when you had to adapt your artistic style to meet the specific requirements of a project. This one is all about showing you're not a one-trick pony.
Exactly. Can you step outside your comfort zone, try different looks? Can you flex those creative muscles and adapt your style to whatever the project needs?
RoleCatcher's advice here. Choose a project where you really had to switch things up, maybe even go for a style that's totally different from your usual thing. Explain how you tackled that challenge and what you learned along the way.
It's about proving you're not afraid to experiment, to try new things, and push those creative limits.
Their sample response gives a perfect example. They had to create illustrations for a children's book, which was so different from their usual abstract digital paintings. But by looking at different illustration styles, trying new techniques, they created this whimsical, engaging visual world that perfectly matched the book.
It's a beautiful example of how stepping outside your comfort zone can lead to awesome creative growth and expand your skills. Now, for everyone listening, have you ever had to push your artistic boundaries in a similar way?
Maybe you had to adapt your style to create a super realistic video game environment, all gritty and detailed, or maybe it was embracing minimalism for a sleek website, you know? Share those stories. Highlight your adaptability.
Those are the experiences that prove you're willing to learn and grow, which is key to making it in this field. It's always changing, always evolving.
It's like always leveling up. Okay, question 14. How do you approach giving and receiving feedback on your artwork? Growth, collaboration, and taking constructive criticism like a champ, that's what this one's all about.
Essential skill for any artist, especially in a professional setting. They want to know, are you open to feedback? Can you use it to make your work even better?
RoleCatcher says, frame feedback as a good thing, a chance to grow. Explain how you actively look for constructive criticism and how you use it in your process.
And it's just as important to show you can give feedback in a way that's thoughtful and respectful, you know? Do you offer specific suggestions for improvement? Do you frame your critiques in a positive way, encouraging?
RoleCatcher's sample response mentions a classic technique, the feedback sandwich. Start with the good stuff, then the constructive criticism, then end on a positive note. It's a great way to deliver feedback that helps and encourages at the same time.
It shows you're not just picking apart the flaws, you're also acknowledging the strength and giving guidance for improvement. It's about building each other up, right?
Totally. And speaking of improvement, let's pause for a sec and go back to RoleCatcher's career guide. They talk about burnout, how it's a real risk in this field. Long hours, tight deadlines, the pressure to constantly be innovative can all take a toll.
It's true, but developing a healthy way to handle feedback, that can be a real weapon against burnout. When you can give and receive feedback in a constructive way, it creates a more supportive and collaborative environment. It's like we're all in this together, you know?
Absolutely. It's about fostering that open communication, respect, and always learning from each other.
That kind of environment makes all the difference. Job satisfaction, creative fulfillment, it's all connected.
Totally agree. Okay, back to the questions. Question 15. Describe your experience working with clients or stakeholders to develop creative briefs and project scopes. This is where you show them you can translate client needs into action, into a plan.
It's bridging that gap between the creative vision and actually making it happen. Can you take someone's vague idea and turn it into a clear roadmap for a successful project? That's the question.
RoleCatcher, again, they nail it. Clear communication, active listening. It's all about asking the right questions to understand the client's goals, who they're trying to reach, and what they want to achieve.
And you got to be able to explain your own creative vision in a way that's exciting and also fits with what the client wants.
In RoleCatcher sample response, they talk about using mood boards, visual references to present ideas, making sure everyone's on the same page. They also mention setting realistic deadlines and budgets, showing they get the practical side of things too, not just the artistic side.
It's like proving you understand how to manage a creative project. That's a valuable skill. Now, what about you guys listening? Any strategies for collaborating with clients and figuring out those project scopes?
Think about those first meetings. Do you have a go-to list of questions? Any tools or frameworks to capture the client's vision? Sharing that shows you're organized, proactive, ready to go.
Those skills are gold in this field, especially as you move up the ladder.
Which reminds me, let's go back to RoleCatcher's digital artist career stages for a sec. Remember how it showed how your responsibilities grow as you advance? Well, guess what? Nailing client communication, that's a must-have for climbing that ladder.
You got it. As you gain experience, you'll probably take on leadership roles, managing teams, handling bigger, more complex projects.
And that takes serious communication and collaboration skills.
You're absolutely. It's about inspiring and motivating others, making your vision clear, guiding the whole team towards a common goal.
All right, question 16. This one's all about that crucial skill, time management. Can you provide an example of a project where you had to manage your time effectively to meet multiple deadlines? In this field, time management is everything.
Yeah, they want to see if you can handle juggling multiple things without dropping the ball. Can you prioritize? Can you stay organized, on schedule, even when things get crazy?
RoleCatcher says, choose an example that shows off your organizational superpowers, how you hit those deadlines without sacrificing quality. Maybe you were juggling several projects at once, or balancing client work with your personal creative stuff.
The key is to highlight how W stayed on track. Did you make a detailed schedule? Break down big tasks into smaller chunks. Give them the tactics.
RoleCatcher's sample response, they talk about using a project management app, which is a lifesaver for keeping track of deadlines and progress, especially with multiple projects. They also highlight communication, keeping clients in the loop, being upfront about any potential delays.
That kind of professionalism and transparency goes a long way, builds trust with clients, and makes sure everyone's on the same page. No surprises.
And speaking of staying on top of things, remember that work hours section in RoleCatcher? They mention how digital artists often have to be flexible with their hours because of, client needs and those project deadlines.
Yeah, that's the reality. But even with flexible hours, setting boundaries and taking care of yourself is important.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance where you can get the work done without sacrificing your personal life or burning yourself out.
And that balance looks different for everyone, right? Some people need a strict schedule, others prefer a more go-with-the-flow approach.
Totally. The key is to figure out what works for you and then be clear about those boundaries with clients and colleagues.
Set those expectations up front. Create a sustainable way to work that lets you thrive creatively and personally.
Okay, ready for question 17. This one gets at your inner drive. How do you stay motivated and inspired when working on long-term or repetitive projects? Because, let's be real, not every project is going to be a dream come true.
This is them trying to figure out your passion, your resilience, how you find those sparks of inspiration, even when you're doing the kind of mundane stuff.
RoleCatcher's tip is to focus on the big picture. Like, remind yourself why you're doing this. Maybe it's the impact your work will have, the skills you're building, or the challenges you're overcoming along the way.
And don't be afraid to find ways to make even those repetitive tasks creative. Can you try new techniques? Find inspiration from other artists or from things outside your usual bubble.
Their sample response, they talk about listening to podcasts or watching documentaries related to their field just to stay inspired and engaged. They also mention setting personal challenges, pushing themselves creatively, breaking out of that routine.
Those are great tactics. It's all about finding those little things that rekindle that passion, remind you why you love what you do.
And sometimes that spark comes from connecting with other people who share your passion.
Absolutely. Before we move on, let's highlight something RoleCatcher emphasizes. Networking, building those connections in the digital art world.
It's more than just finding a job. It's about community, mentors, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, support you.
Going to events, joining online groups, connecting with other artists, those things can lead to new opportunities, collaborations, and valuable insights.
So for everyone listening, are you active in those online communities? Are you going to events?
Yeah.
Networking can really make a difference.
It's not just what you know, but who you know. Those relationships can be a game changer. They help you grow your career and feel creatively fulfilled.
Okay, on to question 18. Describe your experience with presenting your work to clients or stakeholders. Communication and presentation skills, that's what's on the table here.
They want to know, can you explain your vision in a clear, compelling way? Can you grab their attention, show them why you're excited about your work?
RoleCatcher says, tailor your presentation to your audience. Are you talking to tech people or creative visionaries? Change your language, your visuals accordingly.
And remember, confidence is key. Believe in your work. Let that passion shine through.
Their sample response, they talk about using storytelling to connect with the audience, highlight the main points of the project. They also mention practicing beforehand, making sure everything flows smoothly and keeps people engaged.
Practice is key, especially for presentations. What about you guys listening? Any tips for giving a presentation that really captivates people? Maybe a bit of humor, visuals, interactive elements, something to keep them hooked.
Sharing those insights shows you're thoughtful, prepared, confident in your ability to communicate effectively. It's like showing them you're a pro.
And those skills, they matter for any digital artist, whether you're presenting to clients, pitching ideas, leading a team, communication is everything.
Okay, question 19, a tough one. How do you handle criticism or negative feedback on your work? Because let's face it, not everyone's going to love everything you create.
True, but it's not about avoiding criticism. It's about showing how you handle it gracefully, professionally, with a willingness to learn and grow.
RoleCatcher's suggestion. Acknowledge the feedback even if you disagree. Explain that you value different perspectives and are always trying to improve.
It's about showing you're not easily discouraged and that you can separate your ego from your work.
RoleCatcher's sample response. They mention taking a step back to really look at the feedback objectively. See if there's any truth to it. They also talk about getting feedback from mentors or colleagues they trust to get a more well-rounded perspective.
That's a smart move. Having those supportive and insightful people around you, that can make all the difference when dealing with the challenges of creative work.
And remember, feedback, even when it's tough to hear, can help you grow. It shows you those blind spots, helps you refine your skills, and ultimately makes you a better artist.
It's that growth mindset, seeing criticism as a chance to get better.
Okay, before we hit the last question, I got to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI-powered features. They're just so cool. We talked about how it helps you tailor answers for specific jobs, but it does way more than that.
The AI feedback system for practice interviews, that's one of the most impressive things. You can record yourself answering questions and get personalized insights on your delivery, your body language, your overall performance.
It's like having a personal coach for your interviews, giving you the feedback you need to nail it.
It is. It's a game changer if you want to build confidence and improve those interview skills.
I even use it to prep for a big presentation. It helped me see these nervous habits I didn't even realize I had. It was eye-opening and helped me refine my delivery.
That personalized feedback is invaluable. It's like having a secret weapon, you know?
Totally. Okay, ready for the last question of this part? Here it is, the one everyone dreads. What are your salary expectations for this role? Can be awkward, but gotta be prepared.
The dreaded salary question. Don't worry, RoleCatcher's got your back. They provide salary data for different job titles and locations, so you can go into those conversations informed and ready.
Exactly. RoleCatcher also suggests doing your research on what's standard in the industry, taking into account your experience and location. It all matters.
It's also good to have a range in mind, not a fixed number. That gives you room to negotiate and be flexible.
And your salary is just one part of the whole package, don't forget. Benefits, vacation time, professional development opportunities, those are all important too.
It's about knowing what you're worth and not being afraid to ask for what you deserve.
So true. All right, everyone, we've covered 20 key questions for digital artists, thanks to RoleCatcher's interview guide. But an interview, it's a two-way street, don't forget.
It is. Don't just answer questions, ask some of your own. What do you want to know about the company, the role? That shows you're curious, engaged, really interested.
It's your chance to get the info you need to decide if this is the right fit for you. Company culture, opportunities for growth, the biggest challenges and rewards of the job, those are all good things to ask about.
Asking thoughtful questions, that shows you're proactive, you're insightful, you're really invested in finding the right opportunity. It makes a difference.
Before we wrap up this part, I want to highlight a feature on RoleCatcher that I find super inspiring. It's called the Career Compass. It's like having your own personal career guidance counselor right there on your phone or computer.
The Career Compass, it's amazing for exploring different paths, discovering opportunities you might not have even thought about.
It looks at your skills, interests, experience, and suggests potential careers, complete with salary info and job outlook. It's like, here's where you could go, here's what it looks like.
It helps you figure out your strengths, explore new possibilities, plan a course towards a career that really matches what you're passionate about.
So cool. We've covered a ton in this part, but there's still so much more to explore. In our final part, we're shifting gears from interview prep to broader career insights for digital artists, all based on the wealth of info available on RoleCatcher. All right, we spent a lot of time getting you ready for that interview, but let's take a step back for a minute and think about the bigger picture. What does it really mean to build a successful and fulfilling career as a digital artist?
We've given you the interview skills, but now it's time to dream a little. What does your future in this amazing field look like?
I love that. So what are some of the key takeaways you've gotten from RoleCatcher about what it takes to create a thriving career as a digital artist?
One thing that really jumps out is how important continuous learning is. They talk about it a lot. This isn't a field where you can just learn a few things and coast. Technology's always changing, new software pops up all the time, trends come and go. You got to constantly be learning and growing.
Yeah, RoleCatcher's knowledge and learning section, it really hammers that home. They recommend things like following industry blogs, playing around with new tools, even going to conferences to stay on top of everything. It's like they're saying, never stop exploring.
Exactly. And it's not just about learning technical stuff. It's about that mindset, that curiosity, that drive to learn and push yourself outside of your comfort zone.
That's where the real magic happens, for sure.
Totally. And remember that digital artists career stages section we talked about. It's so interesting to see how the work changes, what you're responsible for as you gain experience.
It gives you a real sense of what your journey could look like. You might start as an assistant, learning from more experienced artists, contributing to those big projects. Then, as you grow, you take on more and more, maybe leading a team, eventually even shaping the whole creative vision for a project.
And RoleCatcher even gives these cool example profiles for each stage, so you can really see concretely what skills and experience you need to be successful at each level.
It's like getting a sneak peek behind the scenes, seeing what it takes to reach those higher levels. So, for everyone listening, where do you see yourself fitting into those career stages? What parts of the work really get you excited and match your goals?
You got to be intentional about your career path. What kind of environment do you thrive in? The collaborative energy of a design studio? Or are you more of a solo artist, someone who loves the freedom of freelancing? RoleCatcher talks about all sorts of work environments so you can find the right fit for your personality and how you like to work.
And don't forget those specializations we talked about earlier. RoleCatcher's specialism section is like a playground for digital artists. There's so much to explore. Whether you're all about animation, game design, creating those immersive VR experiences, finding that niche, that thing that really speaks to you, that can make you stand out in this competitive world.
It's about finding that intersection of your passions, your skills, and what the industry needs. That's where the magic happens.
It is exciting, but I can see how it might feel a bit overwhelming too. There are just so many paths you can take.
That's where those AI tools on RoleCatcher can really help. They're not just for interview prep, they're for managing your whole career.
Imagine having this personalized guide that helps you figure out what skills you need to work on, what opportunities are out there, a way to map out your dream career.
It's like having a GPS for your career, guiding you where you want to go and helping you navigate all those twists and turns along the way.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's bring it all back to you. We've talked about how to rock those interviews, the different stages of a digital art career, finding your niche, continuous learning, the importance of networking, all of it.
All those pieces fit together. They create a roadmap for a successful and fulfilling career in digital art.
But here's the final question, the one we want you to really think about. Where do you see yourself in the future of digital art? What impact do you want to make? What kind of artist do you want to be?
RoleCatcher can help you answer those questions. They can give you the tools and resources to make that vision a reality.
So get out there, create amazing art, and never stop exploring those endless possibilities in the world of digital art. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.